October 8th, 2020. Yeah, so I call to order the Planning Commission meeting of October 8th, 2025. And if everybody would stand to the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing, please.
Statement of values. As we gather, we humbly seek blessings upon this meeting. May we act with strength, courage, and will to perform our obligations and duties to our people with justice to all. Let us seek wisdom so that we may act in the best interests of our people, our neighbors, and our country. All this we ask so we may serve our community with fairness and respect, putting their needs before all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Elizabeth, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Bhatnagar,
Present.
Commissioner Biagini,
Present.
Commissioner Cherkuru,
Here.
Commissioner Wang,
Here.
Commissioner Busa,
Here.
Commissioner Salem, I'm so sorry.
Wishful thinking.
Thank you for the promotion.
Commissioner Crutchlow,
Here.
thank you.
Okay, so everybody's here. Declaration of commission procedures. Secretary Chu.
Public hearings are conducted by the chair in accordance with the following procedures. The chair of the commission directs all activity during the hearings. All comments shall be addressed to the commission. Any item on this agenda may be continued to a subsequent hearing. Applicants will be allotted up to 10 minutes to present and justify proposals following staff presentation of the item. Other speakers will be given up to 2 minutes. The applicant is allotted up to 5 minutes for rebuttal of comments. No additional comments will be accepted upon the close of public hearing, although the commission reserves the right to direct questions to any speaker on any matter. Special procedures, time limits may be applied to any items as prescribed by the chair. Appeal of commission actions must be filed in writing within 7 calendar days. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So we're on the continuances and exceptions? Okay. Copies of the current agenda and staff reports for each of the items on the agenda are available from the Planning Division office on the Friday afternoon preceding the meeting and available online. Continuances and exceptions. This part of the meeting allows for the applicants, members of the public, or other interested parties to request an item be 1, continued without hearing, 2, withdrawn, or 3, taken out of order. Are there any requests from applicants, the public, or the commission for continuance or exception for any of the items on tonight's agenda?
No, we don't have any requests.
Thank you. On the consent calendar, there are 2 items on the consent calendar today. Secretary Cherkuru, will you please read the procedure for the consent calendar?
The procedure for the consent calendar is as follows. Consent calendar items may be enacted, approved, or adopted by one motion unless requested to be removed by anyone for discussion or explanation. If any member of the Planning Commission staff, the applicant, or a member of the public wishes to comment on a consent calendar item or would like the item to be heard on the regular agenda, please make your request now. Items listed on tonight's consent calendar with its associated file numbers constitute public hearing. 1A, Planning Commission meeting minutes of September 10th, 2025, and 1B, Planning Commission 2026 calendar of meetings.
Elizabeth, are there any members of the public that would like to briefly address the commission on any item not on the agenda?
Wait,
That would
let's
be
move on
public
the-
presentations, which is after the consent calendar.
We have
So we'll
to
take a
vote.
vote on the consent calendar.
on the consent calendar. We need a motion on the consent calendar.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Seconded.
So call for vote. I got a question, though, about it, because I wasn't here for the last
You have to
meeting.
be excused.
Yeah. I'll say I did try watching the meeting afterwards, and unfortunately, there was a lot of muted statements, so I wasn't able to really follow it. So I want to abstain on that.
You're going to abstain? Okay. The motion is by Commissioner Buza, seconded by Commissioner Botnagard to approve the consent calendar. Go ahead and cast your vote, please.
I don't
That's your one.
see it.
Not seeing it.
It's
There
covered.
you go, thank you.
Thank you, and the motion passed.
Okay. So are there any members of the public that would like to briefly address the commission on any item not on the agenda? Anybody online?
No, we have no hands raised online and no one in the council chambers.
Okay, then let's move on to the public hearing items. Item 2, public hearing, action on the initial study mitigated negative declaration, mitigation, monitoring, and reporting program, and to amend the approved planning development PD zoning for 22 all-electric detached single-family residences, PLN 22-00505, to allow for the installation of natural gas stove appliances, PLN 25-00073, for the property located at 1957 Prune Ridge Avenue. And then item number 3, public hearing vesting tentative map, PLN 24-00044, for common interest development for the proposed development of 6 single-family housing units to accompany architectural review application, PLN 24-00034, subject to streamlining under SB 330 from 2019, located at 4503 Cheney Street, is that how it's pronounced? Cheney, okay. Item 4, study session on the Santa Clara Station area specific plan. So each of the hearings are going to be conducted in the following manner. After the secretary or chair reads the title of each public hearing item, we'll go with that. Okay, staff, do you want to proceed with your presentation
For item 2.
on 2?
Need to read that. That's the item.
So, back to this. So, item 2, public hearing, the action on the initial study mitigated negative declaration, mitigated monitoring and reporting program, and to amend the approved planning development PD zoning for 22 all-electric detached single-family residences, PLN 22-00505, to allow for the installation of the natural gas stove appliances, PLN 25-00073, for the property located at 1957 Prune Ridge.
Staff presentation.
So staff presentation.
I'm sharing.
We are having a technical issue. We'll get it resolved quickly.
Chair, can I make a comment on the technical issue?
She just announced.
I know. I just want to comment on something on that. Okay. I don't know.
There is technical issues.
Yes. It's also worth mentioning that
Recording in progress.
the audio levels for the YouTube feed from like last night and other sessions have been extraordinarily low. as in I had to crank the audio up to 90% to even hear what's going on.
Okay, I can mention that to IT. And let's just make sure we all speak into our microphones. That's going to help a lot also.
I think
but
that's
will.
the number one item.
Ye-
Right. Good evening, Chair. Good evening, Commission. Nimisha Agrawal, Senior Planner. So the request before you tonight is to provide a recommendation to the City Council for the initial study mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program, and also for the amendment of the approved plan development zoning for 22 all-electric detached single-family residences to allow for the installation of natural gas stove appliances for the property located at 1957 Prune Ridge Avenue. It's a 2.47-acre site highlighted on the right in the image here in orange. And the zoning is plan development, and the general plan is very low-density residential. To the north are single-family homes. To the east and the west are commercial uses. On the south is Prune Ridge Avenue, and beyond that, a mix of single-family residences, multifamily residential uses, and commercial uses. This project, the project is currently an active construction site. On March 19, 2024, the City Council approved a rezone of the property from public, quasi-public, and public park or recreation to plan development to allow the construction of residential development with 22 single-family detached, two-story, all-electric residences. And the Planning Commission reviewed this in February of last year before the council approval. The council also certified the environmental impact report prepared for the project and also the vesting tentative subdivision map to subdivide the property into individual for sale lots and 4 common lots for the use as a utility corridor, vehicle access, landscape open space, and bioretention areas. Since then, the developer obtained the building permits to demolish the existing structures on the site and has started construction of the project. The proposed project before you is to replace the 22 electric stovetops in the approved project with 22 natural gas stovetops. Excuse me, I'll just have a sip of water. And specifically to modify the conditions B8, as shown here, and eliminate condition P23, which asks for, which does not allow the installation of natural gas infrastructure in the future. General plan conformance, the approved project to construct for the 22 units had a density of 8.9 units per acre, and it was consistent with the general plan designation for the project of very low density residential. The addition of natural gas infrastructure is not consistent with the current climate action plan, which establishes a policy of reducing emissions to net zero by 2045. However, the net zero assumed that all new construction within the city would be all electric, and also that eventually all energy used within the city would be from renewable sources. The CAP also directs the city to implement REACH codes, the local ordinance, and as you may be aware, the city is in the process of updating its REACH code to replace the all-electric requirement with an energy performance approach that would provide more flexibility to the developers.
Without the mitigation, the modified project conflicts with the general plan goal listed here that aims to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, and the general plan policy, which encourages implementation of technological advances to minimize the public health hazards and reduce generation of air pollutants. While the project proposed modification would increase emissions, greenhouse gas emissions as compared to the approved project, the cumulative greenhouse gas emissions impact of the 22 natural gas stoves would be minimal, and I have the numbers. I have the numbers here. The approved project would have resulted in 129 tons of carbon dioxide per year, and with this change, it will be 135 tons per year. So a net of like 6.6 additional carbon dioxide equivalents. To mitigate this, a mitigation measure has been adopted that would include a TDM plan as part of mitigation measure that I will actually have on the slide later in the presentation. Zoning code conformance, the project would continue to be in compliance with the approved development standards that were approved last year. The proposal to add or replace the 22 electric stovetops in the project with 22 natural gas stovetops does not alter the site plan, access, or parking of the approved project. The project construction would slightly have to be adjusted to connect the gas utilities to the site. As mentioned earlier in the presentation, this council certified the environmental impact report for the approved project last year in March. For this proposed change, an initial study and a mitigated negative declaration was prepared to analyze the proposal to allow the use of natural gas and replacing the electric stovetops. The ISMND analyzed impacts on air quality, energy, greenhouse gas emissions, land use, and planning, and found the impacts to be the same as the approved projects except for the greenhouse gas emissions. And therefore, an additional mitigation measure was added that would reduce the new greenhouse gas impact to less than significant. And on the next slide is that mitigation measure. And so what it says is that the project will be required to offset the emissions calculated for the cooktops by preparing a trip demand management, TDM plan, with measures reducing the number of vehicle trips by a minimum of 5.5%, which is equivalent to 9 daily trips, approximately. And with this implementation of the mitigation measure, the modified project would not result in a net increase in the greenhouse gas emissions compared to the approved project. With that, the staff recommends the commission to adopt a resolution recommending the City Council adopt the MND and the MMRP, and also adopt a resolution recommending to the City Council to amend the approved plan development zoning for the 22 single-family detached two-story all-electric residences to allow for the installation of natural gas stove appliances for the property located at 1957 Prune Ridge Avenue, subject to conditions of approval. That concludes the staff presentation. The applicant is here as well, and we're here to answer any questions the commission may have.
No questions. The only thing I have to say, when can we make a motion to approve this?
Not the right time, thank you. But does anybody have questions for staff?
I do have a question. So I appreciated the bullet to go back to, what is the energy, what is staff working on right now to make it more energy efficient versus all electric? What is that reference to? Go back. The second bullet. The city is in the process of updating its REACH code to replace the all-electric requirement with an energy performance approach. What does that entail?
So last year in council, because we had that, last year in January of 2025, council suspended the all-electric, and the With the energy performance approach, I think it just provides overall flexibility to the developer in how they will achieve the overall energy efficiency. So it could be through, like in this instance, through a TDM plan or other kind of appliances or solar.
So is the REACH code itself getting updated, and what is the ETA of its adoption?
Yes, through the chair. Yes, the REACH code is going to be updated, and I do not know the ETA.
So if the REACH code was updated already, let's assume, would this application have come through?
So this was a PD zoning, so it was very specific to this because it was a PD zoning, so the condition was specific. If it was a standard zoning or an architectural review project, then they would be able to use the new REACH code should it be adopted.
Okay. And the REACH code will no longer require all electric, basically?
Correct, yes.
Already if a residence comes in?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Through the chair.
Anyone else have questions?
Just a quick one, Chair, thanks. Condition P23, is that a normal condition, or that was specifically added to this project upon the council's or the planning commissioner's request?
It was added at the time when the previous project was approved, understanding that if they wanted to come back with an option for the natural gas, then they will have to come through this process.
Right.
And therefore, now we are proposing, since they are proposing the natural gas, it does not make sense for that condition to stay there.
Right. And one other thing, maybe it'll go to the applicant, some understanding of why they want to do this now? Maybe that'll be for the applicant, I'm okay.
Right, the applicant can definitely elaborate on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to request.
Okay.
I will slap my own hands. Any other questions for staff?
Oh, he asked it for me.
Like to make a motion?
We have an applicant ahead with a presentation?
I believe the applicant does not have a presentation, but they can speak to the commissioner's question.
This is the applicant, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Namisha, for the presentation. Good evening, members of the Planning Commission, city staff, and residents in the audience. My name is Matthew Schott, representing SCS Development. I'm here with Steve Schott, my father, Vice President of SCS Development, my colleague Corey Kusich, and along with Shannon and Patrick with David J. Powers, our environmental consultant. We're here to seek your approval of the environmental document allowing us to install 22 gas stovetops in the newly constructed single-family homes. The market has shown that having gas stovetops instead of electric stovetops is popular amongst home buyers because of the superior cooking performance. Our goal is to provide the best home we can for the future residents of Santa Clara. So SCS and David J. Powers will be here for the remainder of the public hearing if you have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Chair, I'd like to make a statement.
Are there any public speakers? Does anybody from so Elizabeth, do you have any cards, speaker cards?
No, we do not. We don't have any hands raised online, and there's no one in the council chambers requesting to speak.
I do have a question to the applicant.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay. Just, Matthew, just wanted to bring something, and remember the first time when you got your approval in March, I brought up the gas, and Berkeley at the time had just won the lawsuit, and one of the things that it was requiring, it was for in case the consumer wanted to have their own choice of gas or electric, at the same time having a gas fireplace or barbecue in the back. I think that what you propose makes a lot of sense, having the gas in there. And I've been keeping an eye on the project, and I'm really happy to see the progress that you're making. I wish you guys go a little bit faster. I see that you just pour the cement on the back lots. But my question is, too, just curious, have you sold any of the homes yet? I know you got almost three completed.
Yeah, those are the models, and those are going to be completed in January.
So have you had any lot of interest in the homes yet?
We have a lot of interest in the homes. but we haven't sold any homes yet.
Okay, when is your completion date? When you think your completion date is?
Sometime in 2026,
Okay, thank you.
the end of the year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Through the chair, Matt, just a quick trend indicator. You indicated the market is asking for gas stoves now.
Yes, we are. The market is, we hired Rhiness, and they say that a lot of home buyers, when they see gas appliance, especially stovetops, gas stovetops, they get really excited about that. So it's a nice amenity to have, especially in California with all of the blackouts that we're seeing. It's just nice that you can still have a hot meal for dinner when you don't have power.
I wanted to hear that. I saw it in the report, but yes, I appreciate. But you know, in a trend indicator, the pendulum is swinging, but we have the lowest electric rates, so it's always nice to have the option to
Yes,
still.
and sorry to cut you off. We are putting electric outlets
Okay.
right
so
there. So it's dual purpose. So if the homeowner does want to go electric, they have that option.
That's all I wanted. Thank you so much. I appreciate the clarification. Like, you should give the market the choice as to what they want to install and not just wipe it clean.
Yes, then we will.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
So quickly, and just making a point here, the idea that the consumer market in the space that you operate for residences prefers stovetops, gas stovetops. This idea was not clear when you started the project and presented it to the Planning Commission and Council?
I'm sorry, can you rephrase that?
I'm asking why this idea has this clarity now. This request has put the whole system through
Yes.
through this loop when this could have been in the original project and we move on with it, right?
Hi, I'm Steve Schott, Steve Schott Jr. from SCS Development Company. I would have loved to have brought this earlier when we were getting the project approved, but we couldn't. It wasn't allowed by law to do that. The Berkeley Restaurant Association of Berkeley sued the city of Berkeley for cooking on gas cooktops. And they won that lawsuit, and they also won on appeal. So now it's law that it's allowed to have it in homes as well as commercial buildings. So that's why we came back to you for approval for this.
All right, thank you.
If I could just add on to that discussion, that is correct. There is that Berkeley case. In this instance, this is a legislative decision, so it's not impacted by that recent case law.
Yes, for the developer. So have you actually updated the plans and specs to include the difference in ventilation and other things that go along with adding gas? Also, have you updated the site plans to incorporate bringing in gas for every unit? And finally, how is since you're making this an option, are you planning to pass that cost of those new changes along to the purchaser?
Yeah, so we worked with PG&E, and PG&E is brought gas into the subdivision. That was allowed. We've worked with the building department, the city of Santa Clara's building department, and they allowed us to go ahead with the ventilation and everything that needs to happen with gas. So that has all been part of the whole process. The costs are the costs. We know the costs. We're not, this added cost to us, we're not adding it on to the cost of the home. It's just part of the marketing of the home that we think is will help us
We're
market.
just so sensitive now for affordable housing that bringing in the option and raising the price would probably be counter to that effort that the city is pursuing.
We do have 3 affordable homes in the project.
Yeah, so that's good. Okay, well, that's enough for now. Thank you.
Any other questions? last time. Any public speakers? Nobody? Okay. Shall the public hearing be closed? Somebody want to make a motion? to close
Motion to close public hearing?
Second?
Should we go for motion to approve?
Very good. And we got a second.
Wait a second already.
We should do it in two motions, right?
The motion was made by Commissioner Biagini, seconded by Commissioner Buza to close public hearing. Go ahead and cast your vote, please. Very good, the motion passed. Thank you.
Should we go for motion to approve?
Sure.
Let's make a motion.
We'll accept any motions. Who wants to make a motion?
I will,
Make a motion, but I'll let Pira make a motion now.
okay?
Thank you, Assistant Chair.
I will move, and I'm pulling up the resolution here, sorry. Give me just a split second.
Okay, I guess I can make the motion then.
Okay. I move that we adopt a resolution recommending the City Council adopt the mitigated neg deck and the mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the 1957 Prune Ridge Avenue residential project.
Second.
Discussion? Everybody good?
Good?
The motion was made by Commissioner Cherukuru, seconded by Commissioner Biagini to approve staff recommendation 1. Go ahead and cast your vote, please. Very good, the motion passed. Thank you.
Adopt a resolution recommending the City Council to amend the approved plan development zoning for PLN 22-00505 for the 22 single-family detached two-story all-electric residences to allow for the installation of natural gas stove appliances for the property located at 1957 Prune Ridge Avenue, subject to conditions of approval.
Second?
Can I put a friendly amendment on that? I would suggest removing the term all-electric because it is no longer all-electric.
Electric.
Yeah, I think the original was all electric, and the change is to allow for the installation of natural gas.
Okay, good, as long as that's.
Yeah, it's the previous,
So the amendment is not needed then?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure the language was correct.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Who seconded the motion?
doesn't matter, either one.
Take your pick, Boozer
Commissioner
or
Biagini.
Through the chair, if I may, real quick, the recommendation does refer to detached two-story all-electric residences
Yeah,
to allow for, oh, I didn't turn the page.
that's what I said.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Okay, the motion was made by Commissioner Cherukuru, seconded by Commissioner Biagini to approve staff recommendation 2. Go ahead and cast your vote, please. Thank you, and the motion passed unanimously. Thank you.
That it? All right, let's go on. Item 3. Public hearing vesting tentative map PLN 24-00044 for a common interest development for the proposed development of a 6 single-family housing unit to accompany architectural review application PLN 24-00034, subject to streamlining under SB 330 from 2019, located at 4503 Cheney Street. Cheney? Cheney.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just 1 second while we load up the presentation. Daniel Subcheck, City of Santa Clara, Associate Planner. All right, much appreciated. The application in front of us today is for a recommendation to City Council on a vesting tentative map for a property located at 4503 Cheney Street in order to create 6 single-family housing units in common interest. The applicant held a community meeting, regarding the project on 11/10/2024, 354 notices were mailed out and 8 citizens were in attendance. The tentative map proposal is paired with a prior architectural project that was reviewed at architectural review on 12/11/2024, and that item was approved. There were no public speakers at that meeting. So the project site is 18,651 square feet and has a general plan of low intensity and a zoning of R2, and is currently a single-family home. There are similar types of uses that surround the property to the east and the west. On the map, everything in gray is a very similar type of use. The proposed map is a single parcel with the center easement for utilities, ingress, egress, et cetera. And the tentative map project meets all of the zoning code standards and has been processed per the Subdivision Map Act and Santa Clara Code Title 17 subdivisions. And the subdivision map meets the parcel area and parcel frontage requirements. The tentative map also adheres to the general plan by allowing the creation of additional housing units and affordable housing units as well, and is compatible in the character and size with the surrounding area. For the public outreach, the notices were sent within a 500-foot area, and 354 of them were mailed out. The city has not received a public comment for this particular project. The tentative map is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act per section 15332, class 3-2 infill. And there have been some updates to the conditions of approval. H3, F4, F5, and F8 were removed as they did not apply to the project. And there are text updates on G8, H1, and W3 to explain the stipulations a bit clearer. We have the G8 update here, and then the H1 update, which was updated to help to clarify the amounts to be paid and the affordable housing on the project site. And the city water W3 was updated to clarify as well. There are no substantive changes to these. They were all just smaller housekeeping changes only. And a full packet should be on your desks as well. So to summarize, staff recommendation is to recommend to the City Council to determine the project to be categorically exempt from CEQA pursuant to Section 15332, Class 32 infill, and to adopt a resolution recommending approval for the vesting tentative map for a common interest development for the proposed development of 6 single-family housing. 6 single-family housing. One second, I'll get it. 6 single-family homes located at 4503 Cheney Street, subject to the findings and the updated conditions of approval. The applicant is here as well, and if there's any other questions, staff can field those as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Any questions to staff? No?
Has the architectural review needed a second pass now for this?
No.
Or is that it's officially done?
Right, so that is done and no updates will be required.
Okay, cool, thank you.
quickly, just to understand, so the reason the project is here in the Planning Commission is because we are expected to approve the CEQA exempt portion of the requirements here. Is that right?
Right, it is, well, it's strictly for the map itself to be able to create a condominium map for the project.
I see, I see. Okay, so that requires approval. The planning department cannot just simply, because there were no objections from the department, right? But the laws requires that this be approved by the planning commission and the city council. Yeah, okay, all right, thanks.
Because it's a subdivision map act.
Through the chair, if I might just add to that, it's the law based on what is drafted in our code. So our code requires planning commission recommendation to council and council approval of subdivisions of greater than 5 units.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I got a passing question. Are the resulting lots more or less square footage than the other residences in the neighborhood? Are they significantly smaller?
No, they should be of similar size. I don't have the exact, but
No, just
the
within-
aerials,
Within rough, okay.
right. So they should look.
So this was a
very similar
huge
to-
property to begin with that got
Right.
chopped up.
The history of the property, this was the owner of the entire prune orchard. So he had yes,
Okay,
substantial land there.
thank you.
All right. Any further questions? Good? Okay, the applicant, is there a presentation?
Good evening, Chair and Planning Commission. My name is Jeff Aguilar. I'm with Valley Oak Partners, the applicant. We do not have a presentation. I do have my architect and civil engineer available, Eric Muzzy with Dolan Architecture and Jesus Robles with Civil Engineering Associates, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions from,
I'm just full of questions tonight.
go ahead.
So what is the parking that's going to be provided per unit?
Yeah, so each home will have a standard 2-car side-by-side garage. When we had our neighborhood outreach, that was an item that came up. During our architectural review hearing, we inserted and agreed to a condition that the garages must be used for parking and they cannot be used purely for storage. That was an item that came up, and so something we agreed to during that process.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone from the public have a comment? Anybody online, Liz?
We do not have anyone online requesting to speak and no one in the council chambers.
I'm ready for you.
Motion to close public debate, discussion?
Seconded.
The motion was made by Commissioner Biagini, seconded by Commissioner Bhatnagar to close public comment. Go ahead and cast your vote, please. Thank you.
All right, the chair will entertain any discussion, or if somebody would like to make a motion.
Okay, I'll do it. Let me get to it here. Okay, motion to recommend that the city council determine the project to be categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, pursuant to CEQA guidelines, section 15332, class 32 infill development projects. That'll be the first motion.
Seconded. Chair Crow.
The motion was made by Commissioner Biagini, seconded by Commissioner Cherukuru to approve staff recommendation 1. Go ahead and cast your vote. Thank you. The motion passed.
Okay, second motion to adopt a resolution recommending the City Council approve the vesting tentative map, PLN 24-00044, for a common interest development for the proposed development of 6 single-family housing units located at 4503 Cheney Street to accompany the architectural review application, PLN 24-00034, subject to findings and conditions of approval.
I'll second it.
Chair, if I may? Chair, would that also include the recommendations from staff to modify the specific conditions that were presented,
Yes.
which are revisions to G8, H1, W3, and then the removal of H3, F4, F5, and F8?
You have that, Elizabeth? Give her a moment.
Thank you, Chair.
Who
Sorry, I should
seconded
have
the
included
motion?
that. Sorry.
Seconded by
Doesn't matter either way.
Boza.
I-
Boza.
Lee, I got to second something so I show up in the minutes.
All right, I will allow this.
You can second the adjournment.
Motion was made by Commissioner Biagini, seconded by Commissioner Salame, to approve staff recommendation 2 and to approve the updated conditions of approval. Go ahead and cast your vote, please. Very good, the motion passed. Thank you.
Is that it for this session?
That is it.
Great. All right, so now to the best part of the night. Item number 4, a study session on the Santa Clara Station Area Specific Plan.
Okay, give us 1 second to get our slides up. And I will ask our Community Development Director, Asha Hamid, to come up and give you an introduction, and then we'll have the consultant give you a presentation as well.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair and Planning Commission members. It's a pleasure to be here before you. So this is a study session, and we are requesting your early input and feedback as we take it through the process. And then after tonight, it will also go to City Council for a study session for input and feedback. So before I begin, a number of staff have been working on this, Leslie Xavier, Rebecca Bustos. And then we also have partnerships with VTA. The consultant team is WRT, and they are here as well tonight. And they've been very involved in the process with the downtown task force. So the city's general plan was adopted in 2010, and it included the Santa Clara Station area as a near-term focus area. So focus areas signify where the general plan supports future growth through redevelopment and intensification of existing land uses. Because of their location, changes in these areas offer an opportunity to implement the general plan's major strategies. This area is also important because it's a priority development area, and it aligns with the overall regional goals with MTC ABAG as well. So the goals, policies, and illustrations for these areas provide guidance for development, and because of their location, changes in these areas offer an opportunity to implement the general plan major strategies and to enhance the city's quality of life and foster economic vitality. The Santa Clara Station area focus area consists of 244 acres, generally bound by De La Cruz Boulevard, Reed Street, Martin Avenue to the northeast, and Franklin Street and El Camino Real to the southwest. At the center of this is a transit-rich area, and it consists of the existing Santa Clara Transit Station, which is served by Caltrain and Alta Commuter Express rail lines, Valley Transportation Authority, VTA, bus service. The station area will also become the terminus for VTA's planned extension of the BART system, known as BART Silicon Valley Phase 2, BART Phase 2. And then tonight, I didn't mention this in my intro, but we also have a representative from MTC ABAG in the audience. Manuel is here because this is such a regional project. Multiple outside agencies are involved in this partnership as well. And I will turn it over now to WRT. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Commission, we're pleased to be here tonight to report on the progress of this plan that we've been working on for quite a few months with your task force, with city staff, and with VTA, as mentioned previously. And get the controls of the slideshow here. Just take a second.
She's working on sharing, sorry.
Yeah. Maybe in another 10 years or so, we'll get the idea slide pretty well. Yeah.
So, yeah, we just had a little technical difficulty. We'll be there. No jokes. We're serious people here.
So here's what we hope to cover tonight. We're going to talk about the vision and guiding framework of the plan that we've been developing, the community outreach process, and who we've engaged with, some of the main feedback from that engagement. We're going to be talking about the preferred development concept as it stands, which includes a mobility element, a district development and economic vitality element, and a placemaking and public realm element. So those are sort of three layers of the plan that we will describe individually. And after we've been through that, then we'll go through whatever questions you have. We have some suggestions on some areas that we'd like some input on, and so we'll mention those as well. So this presentation will be a combination of me and my colleague Diksha Rawat, and also representatives from VTA who will interject as well. So starting with the vision and guiding framework. Next slide. So why are we doing the specific plan? So the planning director already mentioned several of the reasons, but just to recap, to address the evolving needs of this community, to align with VTA, MTC, TOC goals, to build a community vision for a vibrant transit hub. This is a transit-rich station, especially with the introduction of the northern terminus of BART. So regionally, it's important and therefore very appropriate place for growth. And then guiding future investment. So there's already interest in a lot of the areas within the study area. In fact, The Gateway Crossings project is already well underway, as you know. And then north of Coleman, there's multiple inquiries and interest from developers. So guiding that development in a way that's consistent with the community's vision is one of the main reasons why this planning effort is important. And then, as the planning director also mentioned, advancing the Santa Clara General Plan, 2035 goals, and to promote multimodal transportation and connectivity.
Good evening. My name is Robert Swerk, and I'm a principal planner at VTA. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, and staff for the opportunity to speak for a few minutes. And I'll be joined here this evening by Melissa Cerezo from our Transit-Oriented Communities program, and she'll speak a little later in the presentation. We wanted to just orient you a little bit as to VTA's role in this project. So you probably know us most of all from our transit agency role, also the lead agency for bringing the BART extension, as the community development director mentioned. But we're also what's called a congestion management agency and county transportation agency, CMA, CTA, in Santa Clara County, which gives us, through state law, a role in working with local jurisdictions on land use and transportation. And the slide here mentions some of the ways in which we do that. We also have an active transit-oriented development, transit-oriented communities program, TOD, TOC. As you can see, we really like our acronyms. We, through these programs, work to create mixed-use, mixed-income, equitable TOD on VTA land, but also look to create active, vibrant hubs in the surrounding lands, around VTA-owned lands. And the ridership and revenue goals that are listed on the slide are two of the primary goals. Next slide. On this slide, we just included some snapshots of some of the underpinning policies and past work that are helping guide VTA's involvement in this project. So things relating to that congestion management agency, county agency role, as well as our TOD program. And then you're probably familiar with back just before the pandemic, we worked with the city and stakeholders to develop the TOD playbook for basically kind of vision of development around the Santa Clara station. As you might know, it actually provides a little bit of kind of, you could say, some of the inspiration for what you'll see tonight in the station area plan concepts. Next slide. So as was noted too, this is a project that has regional interest. One of the grants that is helping fund this work was provided by MTC, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. As was noted, Manuel is here from MTC this evening. And we also, VTA, secured a grant from the Federal Transit Administration, FTA, providing some of the other money. So we are actually helping provide the funding. And on the next slide, you can see in that role, we're partnering with the city on kind of the overall process. The city is the lead. Ultimately, this will be a specific plan that is adopted by, would be adopted by the city council. But we are, in addition to bringing some of the funding to the table, we are a strategy partner working with the city. We will also bring the draft plan to our own board of directors and committee structure, just basically for advice and review before it goes to the city council. We also just wanted to say we very much appreciate the partnership working with the city. Your staff has been great, and we look forward to continuing through this process. I'll hand it back to WRT.
Great, thank you. I'm Jim Stickley, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that before, principal with WRT. So this shows the project schedule and where we are. So the red dash, the vertical red dash line is where we are. So as you look across this chart, you can see that we've been through an analysis stage, identification of opportunities, constraints, and economic analysis, number 4. Number 5, the vision plan. And number 6, which is the stage we're in now, is the alternative development stage. And that culminates in a preferred alternative, which is the topic of our presentation tonight. So we're really zeroing in on a preferred direction. but not yet drafting the plan, which is shown here as activity number 7. And then you can see all of the interaction points along the way. Near the top, the red dots are our task force meetings. So we've been quite engaged with the task force. They've been, very helpful, very involved, very hands-on. You can also see technical advisory meetings, community workshops, team charrettes, and so forth. And then the first Planning Commission meeting is tonight, which you can see at the bottom. And as the Community Development Director mentioned, we'll be going to City Council soon after for a study session with them as well. So it's an exciting time. It's also a good time for input before we start into the drafting of the plan. So there's still some flexibility and plenty of room for input and your perspective. So this is the vision that we've developed with the community, with the task force. Station area will be a vibrant transit-oriented district that leverages regional transit to build a thriving, walkable, accessible community unique to Santa Clara. Grounded in equity, the station area will prioritize diverse housing, inclusive mobility, and economic opportunity, fostering a strong sense of place through thoughtful design that builds upon Santa Clara's distinctive cultural and ecological heritage. Sustainable, climate-conscious infrastructure will enhance resilience, positioning the district as a future-ready, flourishing neighborhood. Next slide, please. Whoops. Comments so far?
So if you give us the opportunity then, first of all, the vision nicely stated. It's good to be able to identify with something like that, so congratulations to everybody that put that together. The question I have is, so you maybe just simply asked, is it through the task force or through some agency? How does the average citizen get a voice in what is being planned and envisioned for the city? I'm not questioning the vision. I'm just asking, how do they contribute? Through what forum, what system do they contribute to this process?
Sure. Great question. Leslie or Rebecca may have something to add, but there have been community workshops, so we've had 2 of those. And then all of the task force meetings are open to the public. And there's a time during the task force meeting when the public is encouraged to give comment, but then there's also been some of the sessions which are quite interactive, and members of the public have actually been able to get on some of the breakout working groups. So there have been many opportunities for the public to weigh in. I don't know, Leslie or Rebecca.
No, that's all correct.
Let's hold on for a moment. It's a great question, but let's go ahead and finish. Well,
Okay.
It's still working.
Yep. So this is the development framework, and as I mentioned before in the introduction, the plan is made of these 3 layers, the first being about mobility and connectivity, and I'm not going to go into too much detail on each one of these because Deeksha is going to explain them in more detail as we get into it, but you can see the main connective threads, and this is not only about completing a connective street network within the project, and especially in the northern portion of the project, north of the railroad tracks, but also bridging the north-south gap over the tracks, which is quite a barrier to the flows back and forth between the two sides. So you can see some of that coming out in this diagram. Second one is about placemaking in public realm opportunities. So this is about not only connecting, but making sure that those connections, those public streets, public parks, and green spaces have a certain character that is unique to Santa Clara and unique to this district. And then thirdly, it's about land use, but more so about the districts that those land uses are organized into, and that each of these districts are distinct in their character, in their makeup, and in their experience, or the experience that the users have within each of those districts. So we've tried to be very deliberate about defining what those different districts are in and around the station. Next slide. So I'm going to turn it over to Diksha now, who will describe a little bit more about our engagement process.
So, through the chair, are we asking the questions on the previous section? Yeah, I'm just asking. Are we asking questions on the previous section before we go to community, or do you want it to hold section by section comments, or do you want to do it all?
You have 7 sections, right? Okay.
That's going to take a long time.
I would recommend going through it because I think some of the questions may get answered as we get into the detail.
Got it.
But certainly, if there's something that is unclear and we can clarify, you should feel free to speak up.
I'll wait.
Yeah, that's good. We're going to take notes and come back to it.
You okay with that, Priya?
Yeah.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Diksha Rawat, the project manager on this project. Sorry for all the technical difficulties we're facing today. But to walk you through some of the community engagement that we've done on the project, we had multiple stakeholder interviews. So we initially identified stakeholders on the project, including mobility partners, Santa Clara University, and also affordable housing developers, and we spoke to them about the potential in the area. We have a station area task force, which is very heavily invested in the area with active participants. We've held 11 meetings with them until now. We had our first community workshop, which was centered around the station area visioning. So that's where the vision for the project sort of came from, hearing from the vision in the community. As you can see, the top right image that we had little cards for the community members to write down their vision for the station area. And so we sort of collated all of that and created the vision for the plan. The city also did a pop-up event at the Art and Wine Festival last year to get more feedback. We had a visioning charrette, which was a collaboration between the task force members, VTA, and different city departments who are involved in the technical advisory committee of the project. So that everyone gets a realistic expectation also of what they can plan for. And then we also concluded a community workshop 2, which was looking where we shared the different alternatives with the community members to sort of come towards which is their preferred direction. We almost had up to 70 participants in that one. And so these are some of the key community priorities that we heard through all of this process. Around mobility and connectivity, they were around safer pedestrian crossings, especially around El Camino and nearer to the train station. Some of the concerns were even brought up by Santa Clara University students. And then we also heard the need for separated bike lanes, potentially buffered by trees, and having safer routes for the students to get to the university. We heard about getting better last mile connections, whether that's like shuttles, buses, other micromobility, taking people to the downtown, to other destinations like Papal Park, or whether it's all the way to the airport as well. I think the airport was another driver that could bring a lot of people as BART comes in eventually. And then there was also maintaining parking for the historic depot, which is at the Caltrain station. And making sure visitors are able to access that. So while we design, making sure that we still leave room for that. In terms of placemaking in public realm, people wanted wider sidewalks, green streets,
well-lit areas, shaded and activated plazas, gathering spaces. They wanted senior-friendly areas with restrooms and seating in terms of public spaces. And they wanted to create a connected network of public parks and plazas. So to be able to walk maybe to Reed and Grant Park, to be able to walk to Mission Library, things like that. And to just add identity to the public spaces that we create. And then in terms of district development and economic vitality, people wanted a mix of mid to high-rise housing near transit to really leverage the idea of having transit and hence putting a lot of housing in the area itself. And having retail that complements but doesn't compete with downtown. I think that was one of the critical points, that we do want retail, we do want activation, but downtown as it develops should be the primary place for that activation. And then what kind of complementary uses can we have around the station and on the other side of the tracks. And then continuing housing opportunities along Coleman all the way up to Reed Street. So using that frontage, which is currently light industrial, maybe allowing for housing within that area, because it's within half a mile from the train station, so that's not considered very far in terms of walkability. And then the industrial property owners did want flexibility to still be able to operate their current uses without feeling redevelopment pressures, and then retaining Costco, but also thinking of a way of maybe a mixed-use future development in that Costco site, which still retains Costco there. So they were really fascinated with the LA model of Costco, where that's coming in on the ground floor of a building. So in terms of preferred development concepts, we had 3 different concepts, and then they had different levels of density and intensity as well. And the one that won out was the strategic growth mix on the far right. It has a mix of larger park spaces, so creating more neighborhood park centers on the other side of the tracks, while also keeping the regional retail node at Costco, and then allowing for the Benton-Brokoff corridor connection to happen to get better east-west connectivity across the tracks, and also for a secondary potential connection which takes Franklin Street, which is from the downtown plan, supposed to be the spine of downtown, all the way up to the Station Plaza, and potentially on the other side, connecting into the Gateway Crossings Park. This is a visualization of what the preferred concept looks like in 3D in terms of intensity of development. The colors that you're seeing, blue, yellow, those are more, those are not exact. All of these parcels would be considered mixed-use development, and anyone could be building housing or office on any of these. They're interchangeable. The idea with this is to prioritize where we might want to have office, which is closer to the train station, so that a lot of people who have a destination to take the train to are more likely to take the train, hence the idea of providing commercial spaces near the train station. And we're thinking of looking at policies that could incentivize having more commercial right around the train station, and then beyond that, having mixed-use residential. And then we'll get further into heights in a minute. So this plan is roughly allowing for 5,000 plus 5,500 new residential units in the plan area, and over 2 million square feet of commercial space. A lot of the height restrictions that you're seeing here, it's currently, the residential goes up to 13 stories based on what we've modeled. That is based on the FAA height restrictions from the airport. And so we can't go taller, even though the task force felt like we didn't want to put even that restriction. Let me dive into a little more detail about mobility and connectivity. So one of our primary things looking on the other side of the tracks was to create more of a complete grid network since there is much lesser of that. So we have these priority streets, which is El Camino, Coleman Avenue, and De La Cruz. And then we have community connectors, which would be Benton Street going all the way to Brokaw on the other side. There's this specific plan looked at the Benton-Brokaw underpass connection, and our consultants looked at a preliminary version of whether that would be possible or not. It felt like there is a possibility, and hence the city is now looking at a separate study altogether to study the feasibility of either an underpass connection or an overpass connection. And so the specific plan will sort of stop at this stage of suggesting the idea, and will say that whatever is the outcome of the study will be what the specific plan's recommendation will be, since that will go further than the timeline of this project. And then internally, we're looking at adding more internal streets, major and minor, and then creating pedestrian-only streets within some of the bigger blocks to provide for a more community-oriented space for the housing there. One of the key things was to reimagine Coleman Avenue, which is a very traffic-oriented street right now. It connects highways to each other and hence is more of a thoroughfare, which works for today's environment because it's mostly industrial light industrial around it. But as we envision this new neighborhood altogether, which is mixed use, a lot of residential, that might not be the right fit anymore for the right character for Coleman Avenue. So this is a reinterpretation of Coleman Avenue, which looks at 2 lanes in either direction. It has a turn lane as well, the center turn lane. So the larger green medians will actually turn into turn lanes as well as we go around. And then it has a buffered bike lane and wider sidewalks with activated uses as well. And then the other street that we focused on was Brokaw, since that would be a major street that leads up to the BART station from the other side of the tracks. And with Brokaw Street, it's 1 lane in each direction, and then you would see this idea of the flex zone on either side. The intent with that is to make sure that we're doing the highest and best use for our curbside. And so the use in that flex zone would keep changing. In some parts, it might be a drop-off zone. In some parts, it might have a shared bike use. In some parts, it might be a bus stop. So to allow for that flexibility within the right-of-way and not have a very rigid design, that was the idea with Brokaw Street. And again, wider sidewalks, because that would be the one place, at least on the other side of Gateway Crossing. Gateway Crossing is already developed, so we can't really change the type of frontage that we have there. But on the other side of Gateway Crossings, as that area develops, we would want much more activated frontages so that we have some sort of pedestrian activation as well as we move towards the BART station. Another key thing that we wanted to look at was east-west connectivity across the tracks. Right now it's very limited. We have to go through that overpass from De La Cruz and go all the way around, or there is the existing pedestrian bike underpass at the Caltrain station. So those are the 2 ways to connect right now, hence the idea of the Benton-Brokaw underpass and its study, and another idea of potentially having an overhead ped bike connection on the other side of the historic train depot, connecting all the way into the green of the Gateway Crossings. This is in alignment with the coming in of Franklin Street as we look at connecting that into downtown in the future. These are some examples of this is the existing ped and bike underpass that we have already on site. This is an example of what we might envision the Benton-Brokaw underpass to be like. There is a lot of conversation around whether we want that to be transit only, whether we want that to be for cars as well. And so that would all depend on the feasibility of the underpass first. And what kind of a cross-section would be afforded through that study. And then on the bottom, you can see different examples of what an overhead bike and ped bridge could look like. We've looked at examples from around the world because we didn't want to limit what our possibilities of a bridge look like. We wanted it to be an iconic thing for Santa Clara. It's right next to our historic train station, so we didn't want it to also take away from the character of the train station. So it should also be, the idea is to have a more green way that connects through, so it doesn't compete architecturally. And there are certain restrictions that would come in. We're working with VTA and BART to understand, since it goes over the BART right-of-way, it would have to have a certain level of protection, which would go with taller walls on either side, but transparent, things like that. So we're working further on those details. District development and economic vitality. This brings us to one of the important points of consideration, which was regulating building heights in this plan area. So all of the guidance that we've gone from the community and the task force until now was on the other side with the tracks. We want to maximize development as much as possible. We don't really want to limit the market in what it can produce. So this is one of the ideas. So you'll see the dark red color, which is 148 feet based on the FAA restrictions. On predominantly most of that area, there's a slight buffer on the top that is for our light industrial innovation district. And the reason we have that buffer and didn't have residential go all the way to the end is because of the sound contours from the airport as well. So we sort of kept it in the limits based off of where we didn't want residential to go in because of the sound contours. And the idea is that we would have additional regulations which apply to the massing of the building, which goes higher than 85 feet, which would be your regular 7 to 8 story building. So once you have a portion of the building massing which is going taller than this 85 feet, then we would want to ensure that too many towers are not very close to each other. So we would want to have a minimum spacing distance between them. Then we're regulating the massing as well. So a diagonal maximum of 200 feet so that it's not a very bulky portion of the building. And then we want to limit the square feet of the floor plate as well. So this is 12,000 square feet to promote slender towers as they go higher. And then we don't want more than 80% of the block frontage to be the taller 13 feet so that we also have some sort of articulation. Further another thing I wanted to note is that we haven't gone into great detail in objective standards. The reason for that is a form-based code will happen for this project at a later date. And so we wanted to keep enough flexibility for the form-based code once that project starts, but we wanted to set certain parameters in place right now based on what is important to the community.
The 3D view. So that was a lot to absorb on the heights, and I wanted to just say a little bit more about the basis of that whole series of regulations for the height. So in this diagram, you can see we concentrated the tower elements along Brokaw. The feeling in all of our interactions with the city and the task force was that that's the appropriate place for pushing the density up, get it near Brokaw, get it near the station, and that scale of having those sort of spot towers placed carefully throughout that first block or two along Brokaw was appropriate. It felt right. This area can absorb that scale, but putting those towers everywhere within this northern district did not feel right. That felt excessive. So, and yet there is a maximum height cutoff from the airport regulation, as Diksha mentioned. So we're trying to ride this fine line between allowing that full height where the towers are, but limiting the number and amount of towers so that it doesn't overwhelm the district. But that's not to say that, for example, a tower could occur outside of this zone along Brokaw. There might be a developer proposal that says, that puts a tower in the residential area further north. That could be okay, but then you're going to reach a point where it starts being too much and too many. And so we're trying to define what that threshold is, in terms of the number of square feet or the additional FAR. So I just wanted to add that as a little bit of context.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, the other thing that we were looking at carefully was where do we want to concentrate retail? We don't want to try to put retail in all parts of the planned area, since that would get difficult and won't get concentrated and create an activated zone. So we came up with these 3 nodes. One is the downtown node, so that stays on its own end from the downtown plan. Then there's the station node and the Brokaw node. And we've tried to make sure that all the retail is around those nodes itself, and creating active public spaces. So there are 2 categories of frontage types that you're seeing here. One is the retail frontage and one is the retail ready frontage. The idea with the retail frontage is to have those areas with retail as they are built. The idea with the retail ready frontage is to have a pedestrian friendly frontage, which looks like a retail frontage, but doesn't necessarily have to operate like a retail frontage. So that gives a good pedestrian experience as they're walking down. It could be occupied by other types of uses like nonprofits, office spaces, etc. If in the future the market was to turn and this became an area where a lot of retail was trying to come in, those spaces are already ready to convert into retail uses. And even with that, we've tried to keep only a select corridor of the plan area where these are required by the plan. The rest of the plan area is flexible. Whether they want to allow retail development or not is up to the developers there. But we found the areas right around the station where we want to create active uses. We want to create more everyday life type of commercial spaces where people are getting off the train. They're able to go into a pharmacy. They can trip chain. It can become like a more active part of everyday life for them. That's one of the reasons we chose activation around the station node itself. And then the Brokaw node is where we would have the larger neighborhood park. It has Costco on one side. Do we augment that with some sort of retail along the park strip so that there's more of a hub in that area as well? Then coming to placemaking and public realm, one of our factors was making sure that we add public spaces for all of these new number of residents that are going to come into this plan area. So we have a few different areas that we've identified. One is this new Brokaw neighborhood park. Another is this linear parkway up north, which sort of buffers from the industrial area. So making sure we buffer the 2 uses, the residential and the industrial, and then smaller pockets sprinkled around the area. One of the key things that we did, so you can see that we've put dimensions on all of those spaces, because we looked at little precedent studies of what are existing parks and plazas within Santa Clara and other parts of the Bay Area and made sure that the parks that we're proposing have usable dimensions. And for example, this linear parkway on the north might look like just a trail to you, but the size of it is adequate to be able to put active uses like basketball courts. So we made sure that we were sizing things appropriately. So this would add almost 12 acres of parkland within the station area itself. We were also coordinating with the team looking at the Parks Master Plan, which is going on right now for the city. And from the needs assessment, there came out the need for an indoor rec center, which could be a good activating use for this plan area. We don't have a location for it right now specifically, but we would want to see how that could be brought in. One of the ideas was maybe the station plaza itself. It could be a mixed-use building, which on the ground floor has some sort of a rec center as an activating use, and then upper levels could be commercial, incubator, residential, anything could happen. But that would be a city and VTA collaboration. So that was one idea that was floated while we were having these conversations with the task force. They did feel like the other side of the tracks near the Brokaw Neighborhood Park would be a good location, except all of that is private land, and creating this use might be a little tricky and difficult in that context. And they didn't want to lose the park land itself. They didn't want to put a building on it, so that was the other factor. And then the last thing that we wanted to touch upon was the station plaza itself. So we had numerous conversations with the task force, the city, and VTA around the character of the station plaza. And part of it is to do with the idea that there is the historic train depot, which is a point of pride for a lot of community members. And so we want to celebrate that, really, and we want to make sure that however we develop that, there is enough aspects there that celebrate the historic train depot. So one of the key factors was to allow for clear lines of sight to the historic train depot. It is set back a block, so it's a little tricky on how much we can accomplish. And so we kept a portion of the plaza right in front of the train depot empty. And this is, we'll talk a little more about the options of development, but the idea is to maintain clear lines of sight to the historic train depot. What we worked out with VTA, city, and the task force was the set of design objectives that we all agreed on, which was connecting people in modes, since this is a train station, allowing for that kind of a development to happen on the plaza when it is getting designed in the future. It's not getting designed through this station area plan process. We want to create a strong sense of arrival for all those transit users who are getting off and coming to Santa Clara. Since this is very close to downtown, we would want this to be a point of arrival and for clear wayfinding to get to downtown and know that we're in Santa Clara. Then we wanted to activate and humanize the plaza. So we worked a lot on the sizing of the plaza itself and what felt like the right scale, what felt too large. And then another factor was to be able to leverage this public land for transit-oriented development, to be able to monetize on that, and with the idea of having some sort of a building on it which could fund part of the development of the plaza, and potentially like underground parking, depending on how the program of that building could be built. Fostering community life by having activating retail and also events on the plaza, and then advancing sustainability goals by making sure that the plaza is developed in a sustainable manner in terms of planting, in terms of energy usage, even the building that would get built on site. So those are the key design objectives that everyone sort of agreed on.
And Chair, if I may interrupt for 1 second, the commission has 2 slides in front of them that all the things Diksha just said in detail, they're on those slides for you to refer to later. So we put the highlights here on the slide, but you have the more detailed verbiage in front of you. Thank you. Go ahead, Diksha.
And I'll invite
Can I also
VTA.
ask an in-context question? It's very pertinent to this part of it. Have you investigated the idea of traveler kiosks like water station, snacks, other things that could be in the plaza to assist the travelers when they arrive?
Yes, absolutely. And that was the idea was to have those sort of activated uses, and that would come under the point 4, which is activate and humanize the plaza, as well as Yes, so the answer is yes. But just the fact that we're not designing the plaza right now, so we can't really like put exact locations and things for it in the plan document. But what we're putting in the plan document is the intent that we would like for the future design of the plaza to be.
Okay.
And I'll invite our members from VTA to talk a little more about it.
Thank you, Diksha. Good evening, Planning Commissioners, Chair. It's a real pleasure for me to be here. My name is Melissa Cerezo. I am the Transit-Oriented Communities Program Manager at VTA. I've been very pleased about the collaboration with the city, WRT, the integration of our consultants, Site Lab, our work with the task force. So it's been really exciting to just wrap our hands and hearts around this process. I want to just clarify that we're focusing on a parcel that is the Caltrain parking lot right now. And just to clarify that, and that's something that's co-owned by VTA and the city. And for us at VTA, TOD is mixed use, mixed income development on our transit land right next to transit. And we take this very seriously. It's a core priority for us. So we want to be incredible stewards of land and transit. And so we've listened and learned, and we've come across these shared design objectives together. And I just want to, again, reiterate that we are coming together around creating a comfortable environment, a world-class destination that really honors and celebrates the heritage of Santa Clara and also the historic station. So with that said, we have three sort of flexible approaches that we've curated as just some early conceptual ideas. And these are named really to focus on the station area, but we could also talk about the buildings. The compositions of these ideas, we believe, harmonize those objectives that, again, we just recently stated. So the first one here, or first, second, and third, we believe really regard that El Camino Real to the historic depot station, that view corridor, as very significant, as a curated experience as you walk 400 feet from El Camino Real to that element. So I just want to highlight for the Franklin corridor, this retains Franklin Street. So you could see that loop around. So you're introduced to that historic depot station from that El Camino view, and you step across 400 feet into an activated, edge plaza with active building frontages on the new TOD. You must cross a street in order to reach the historic depot site. In the second scheme, we have what's called a connected plaza, and you'll see here too, there's a bit more connectivity now towards that pedestrian bike concept bridge, and also just a relocated street that brings actually the plaza closer to the historic building site. So you're adding the attention, you're creating more attention or immediate attention between the plaza and that historic depot site. And then in the third scheme, this is more of a straight shot, linear park, a straight corridor. Again, a different kind of street, a rectilinear approach, straight street towards that historic building. And so that, we believe, are these three articulated approaches that could, honor, again, the intentions of, preserving that very special view corridor from El Camino towards the historic site, and also balances the other objectives that we stated. And then lastly, wanted to really bring us to that pedestrian level view so that we can get a feel of what that, the building form plus the plaza feels like, with activated uses such as cafes, green spaces, and just a generous, open area for community vitality. And I'll turn it over to WRT once again.
Great, thank you. Great, thanks, Melissa. So, yeah, I think, well, maybe just to back up to that last view, I have the controls. So I think this really is illustrating the, the open view to the depot, but also the step nature of the building. And the building goes much taller. We don't mean to mask that in this view. It's a big building, it's 350 to 400,000 square foot building.
Where's the train depot on that sketch?
That's the one clear in the back.
Straight dead back. Okay.
So we're on El Camino Real.
Got it.
And we're looking straight across the plaza.
Kind of what I thought, but I wanted to
Yeah,
make sure.
to the historic depot.
Got it. Okay.
And, the building is large, but through the sculpting of that building, the step backs, this idea of a roof terrace on top of the second level that overlooks the plaza, those are all devices to sort of step this mass down so that it's more compatible with the scale of the depot. And that is not all being determined in detail as a part of this plan. So we're trying to define the parameters, define the step back requirements, the clear view lines to the depot, as Melissa explained, as parts of the framework of the plan, but the details of the design of the building, the design of the plaza, all that would come, obviously at later stages. So I just wanted to say that. And that ends our presentation, and we're here to answer your questions, whatever they may be. We would be very interested in hearing your feedback on the preferred direction of the plan, on this approach to building heights that both Diksha and I explained and talked about, and then any comments you have on this latter piece, the station plaza, the objectives that we defined, and sort of how we're approaching that specific area. So thank you for your attention, and we look forward to questions.
Thank you very much. Excellent presentation. One of the things that I would, hold on, no questions yet, but thank you. I'm going to get there. I have some procedural questions, and since we have two ex-chairs here, you can help me as well as staff and legal. When we do this study session, this is for our edification. To what extent does any of the questions or comments that we have, let's say, we would like to be related to or given to City Council, since they're the next ones to get that? How do we communicate that in maybe some of these questions, like, hey, we want to make sure that City Council understands what we're saying here? Either Chair or staff, please, Leslie?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Good question. So yes, you're right. It is a study session, and we will be capturing all your comments this evening. There will be a report to council when we do the study session for them, and that report will disseminate all of your comments and in summary form. But if there is something very specific you want to make sure that they read, please shout that out. Let me know. We'll get it word for word. But yeah, we'll be taking your comments as well as the City Council's comments, and our consultant's really good at putting those all together and turning them into the plan action.
Leslie was exactly right. And just to add to that is, this is a study session, so no action is being taken. So you wouldn't ask for any motion or anything like that to be taken to council. It's just a discussion, and staff will take all the feedback and present it in their staff report.
Yeah, understood. I appreciate that. I just want to make sure that the communication from us to City Council, which is not something that we're taking an action on, gets done in a way. Now, to be really precise about this, you're going to create a report that's going to go to City Council. When is that meeting planned?
November 18th, I believe.
Next month.
It's in your timeline, but isn't it come back as a formal action and a recommendation back to PC first?
Oh, yes, for formal adoption, that'll be end of next year. Adoption hearings will come to Planning Commission for a recommendation first before it goes to City Council for an adoption.
So I want to make sure that City Council is getting the accurate questions or comments that we have. So as the report goes to them, is this something that, let's say, if I make a particular comment that I would like to make sure that it was reflected what I felt I said?
Just, just say, staff, please dictate my comment, and we'll put that in the report to council. So,
She said.
yeah.
an old man. Let me just ask my questions. Thank you, without the side comments.
Please just let us know, and we'll make sure it gets
Thank
in
you,
there.
Leslie, I really appreciate that. All right, so all that aside for the moment. Okay, now that I've got that aside, thank you very much. Does anybody have a question?
Oh, yeah.
Commissioner Biagini?
By the way, thank you, Chair. I will second that non-motion of yours. First off, I'm impressed with the amount of work, especially considering the collaboration that's gone into this. Couple things I wanted to point out. One, absolutely thankful this idea of sightlines with the train station to El Camino, because I think that's so important. Thank you. Second one was this idea that protected bike path. If you don't have that, I'm just going to be blunt, you're probably not going to get a whole lot of bike riders there, including me, right? But here's where my concern lies. I saw on the staff presentation a proposed street in one of the diagrams. I've seen versions of that on yours. My concern is access, access, and access. There's a lot of activity going on Coleman, okay? There's a lot of proposed activity coming in the downtown area. How you connect Coleman to the downtown for traffic is my concern. I like the idea of the pedestrian and bike path, but when I think in terms of somebody living in Gateway Crossings, taking the train to work, or BART, coming home, if there's not an easy way, and that doesn't mean walking 3 miles, to get from what I call the Coleman corridor to the downtown area, I think we're going to have a problem. So are any of these, like the proposed street, I don't know if that was for bikes and pedestrians or cars, same with your plans, because I also recognize that with the BART station going in, doing anything underground is going to be tricky, to say the least. It almost seems to me you'd have to do an overpass. So how are you planning on connecting, or what's the thought process, Coleman to the downtown area that makes it convenient for people riding the train or BART? And that includes cars, because I don't want one side or the other to be on a disconnect. And right now, there isn't a convenient access.
Definitely. I think that was one of our key concerns going into the project as well, which is where the idea of the Benton Brokoff underpass is coming from. So Benton currently dead ends at the railway tracks near the Caltrain station, and so does Brokoff on the other side. So the idea is to be able to have, from this intersection of El Camino and Benton, an underpass that starts descending after this intersection and then goes under the train tracks and comes out on the other side near the BART station, maybe just a block north of the BART station, because the BART station's like the entrance of the BART station. So this would be the entrance of the BART
to the other side. I'm interested in the connection.
Yes, yes.
And where would people park?
So all of the area near this yellow, which is the BART station, so this is all going to be a surface parking lot.
Okay.
Yes. So that is why the impetus for this study that the city is now doing a more technical study of whether this connection is possible, because that would be the best way to merge the two sides together.
And Benton is the one that has the dot on it. Okay.
Yes, so this one is Benton, where the Benton project is, and then it goes on the
I'm trying to
fringe
picture
of
it in my
downtown.
head. Benton hits, where's the police department on that diagram?
This one, the single-story building.
Which
This one?
Right there.
Ah, okay. All right, I got it now. Thank you. I'll save any other questions. I have a feeling some of my colleagues are going to ask the same thing.
No, maybe not, but, yeah.
Well, who else
It's a
has
I got a question here. A couple questions, really quick here. Thank you for the presentation. I see that you really have a vision of what you want to see, but I don't know if it's really the vision in reality, if realistic at all. Were you mentioning 5,500 additional residential units on top of what we already have in that area? You're talking a lot of traffic, and you want to cut down Coleman? Have you been to Coleman lately and getting out of the Costco or going into Costco? It's a mess. Not only that, why would you want to build that many units right next to an airport that is going to be expanding, especially the back part of that airport that is all for the charter flights, and that's increasing tremendously. They're almost at the same capacity as the regular airlines. That is insanity. You know, you're asking for trouble. And also the height of the buildings. You're mentioning up to 18 stories high. You're in the left pattern of the San Jose airport, which the airport now is 800 feet, the traffic pattern for entering the left runways. So this is not well conceived. And where are we going to get the money? That's what I like to know. Where are we going to get the money for this? Because he mentioned $500,000 grant, another $400. That's only less than $1 million. That is nothing. You know, that's nothing. And then on top of that, the city of Santa Clara, you go in partnership. We don't have any money. We just try to pass the bond for $400 to fix our city, $400 million bond. The state of California doesn't have any money either. And good luck trying to get the federal government to come into this project. That's what I want to see. I like the ideas that you have, but we have to do a reality check on this and all of these things here. And I think that's the first thing before we decide how we're going to build this here, we're going to put this here, we're going to put bikes and so on. But yeah, this is where I've been looking at. I'm looking at realistically how I'm going to pay for this and what it's going to take, and in case traffic jams, if it's going to be anything that is going to really make our community better without putting strain and everything else that we have. But it's a beautiful presentation. I really appreciate it. Very well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. So just to answer a few of your questions. So the maximum height that we're looking at for the buildings is around 13 feet, which would be residential based. And that is in line with what the airport patterns, 13 stories, yes, sorry, not 13 feet, no, 13 stories. 13 feet would be nothing. 13 stories is a little. We would not go anywhere with that one. So 13 stories, so that is in line with what is allowed based on the current traffic patterns that the airport has. And then the idea of who's going to build it. So this would be a specific plan. We're just allowing for what private developers could do on that site. Whether they build 5,500 residential units or not, that is completely their prerogative. We're just trying to eliminate obstacles to mixed-use development in this plan area. And so if and when the market becomes feasible again for development, which currently is going through a hard time as it is, that there are no restrictions that because this is a high priority area because of the vast transit that it has. It has Caltrain, it has ACE, it has the coming of BART in the future. So it'll become a regional transit hub, and TOD asks us to build as much housing around those areas as possible. So to capitalize on that kind of development in the future, we want to just eliminate barriers. And so no one is building this, might not get built in general, but the idea is to allow for that level of development. So individual property owners in different parts might want, once we allow them the capacity, they might want to redevelop that parcels, or they might want to still build townhomes. And that's their choice.
And it's important to note too that this is a specific plan, so the build out of it is 20, 30, 40 years in the future, so it's not today or tomorrow.
And then through the chair, I just wanted to also kind of expand this discussion. What the specific plan allows us to do is set our own vision. And if we
have that vision, and if we have the development standards, we have kind of objective standards, then when future development does come in, it comes in and it fits in with the vision that the city has already put in place. And then, importantly, this is a priority development area.
Yeah. Oh, one of the things that Leslie said that is, that I agree with her is, you know, we're talking 30, 40 years or 50 years in the future, everything may change completely. So it's like starting all over again. So this discussion, you know, it's just like,
Start with a plan.
start with the plan, but you know, if you look ahead, we cannot look. We don't have a crystal ball to see what the future
Gotta have a
entails.
plan.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome.
Through the chair, if I may, just a friendly reminder, this is the clarifying questions portion of the evening, and we still have to open up to public comment and then go to all the wonderful discussion you will have about this project.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wayne?
Oh, thank you, Chair. Yeah, actually, my question is, this area is so close to the airport, but the terminal of the airport is on the other side of the runway. So any idea how to connect them? I mean, just it's a plan, right? I just try to see anything. I mean, we can plan ahead. Yeah, thank you.
Good question. And there was a lot of discussion around this, all the way from having shuttles that connect us from the train station to the airport, even very visionary ideas of having like an underground connection that goes straight to the airport. And the city along with some task force members were looking at submitting for grants to further some of the studies. I'm not sure, did we win that grant? No.
Yeah, but that's specifically outside of the scope of this work. But yes.
But what we will do in this plan is to make sure that we emphasize the need for last mile connectivity, including from the train station to the airport, and then work with the transportation authorities like VTA to further that principle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually, you see the bar, Caltrain, right, and the local traffic and the airport. Yeah, looks like it's a hub. So yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Lance?
Okay, so I'll start with a couple simple, smaller ones. Hopefully for the train arrival area, you'll have some consideration for bike lockers and train lockers. This is a pretty traditional thing, but I didn't see anything even mentioned in here. It needs to be secure. So hopefully that will be included in the layout so that you can have some security when you when you bike down to take your train. That's just a feedback. The other thing that, since Afshan is here, maybe she could comment on how did the boundaries of this development evolve, because the beaver tail of the stadium itself seems extremely unusual to have that included as part of this.
This, Leslie, you can expand on this, but this was through the general plan, the 2010 general plan that was adopted, and it came up through council.
And prior to that, Chair, I will add, there was a planning effort to do a specific plan for the station area. One was actually done. It won an award, but the City Council never adopted it. But what the City Council did do is, with our general plan update, they took elements of that specific plan and they adopted it into our specific plan as the focus area. So I don't know how they decided that those were the boundaries at the time, but that's sort of where it started, was with an initial specific plan and then being incorporated into our general plan.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Well, I was just curious because I know we're butting up against San Jose, and I assume some negotiation was made with San Jose over how that plan would flesh out, because literally you can't be across the street from a completely different vision of that area. It would be a coordination effort, and I was just wondering if we have an ongoing coordination with San Jose to make sure the space doesn't Evolve into a Frankenstein.
Not specifically, but if you look at what is right adjacent to the border, it's the Coleman Highline project, which is almost built out. I think they have one vacant parcel left that's left unconstructed for office. And that would be on the east side of the tracks. On the west side of the tracks, where we abut San Jose, they have townhomes already developed, and those aren't likely to go anywhere.
Any other questions?
I have, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So what is the Brokaw right-of-way width, and what is De La Cruz's width? I think I know El Camino, but go ahead for benefit of doubt. I just want to understand the connectivity.
So Brokaw, the proposed one that we're looking at is around 92 feet.
What is the entire right-of-way today?
I think it's much smaller. 92? No, it's slightly lesser than, I think it's closer to around 60.
So you're expanding Brokaw?
Yes, so we're creating a setback on the undeveloped side of it so that we expand the public right-of-way.
So it's going from 60 to 92?
Yes, I'm not exactly sure on the 60 number, but it's lesser than 90, and we're adding definitely like around a 15-foot setback for sure on one side.
Okay, that's very helpful because I was like, oh my God, Brokaw is like very constrained. What about Coleman?
Coleman. So the total one that we're looking at right now is 142 overall. And Coleman is 100 feet curb to curb right now.
So
with a little more
142?
No, 100 is curb to curb, so it'll be around 120 right now.
Okay. We may want to get down to specifics, and I'll say why. And then De La Cruz as well. So at some point in our study session, make sure I have because I do have feedback on the design itself. So I know this was just questions, and then we'll engage in discussion. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Chair. Actually, I like the presentation. I wanted to actually give a word of thanks and congratulations. The city staff, VTA, and WRT. Wanted to mention specifically, Afsan, you made a preamble, and it looks like the rest of the presentation lived up to it, which is really that seeking feedback, right? So let me just state, many times the presentations are, well, we've had all these, community meetings, and we've considered these 15 different plans. Here's the one that we are proposing. Like it or not, that's your choice. But the choice, that was not how it was presented, right? We are looking for feedback, and the whole presentation was looking for feedback. Well done, thank you. I think the point that Commissioner Huang raised, in my mind, is kind of important outside the scope of this project, but we should connect this BART station to the airport. I mean, if anybody has been to any of these European cities, you name it, London, Paris, Frankfurt, Zurich, that connectivity provides the intensity of the usage of these facilities. If they remain separate, then guess what? They remain separate. All right, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
All right, so last but not least, I'll try and keep this brief. Since you have Coleman up there, I have a question. Right now, Coleman goes to 3 lanes at one point, going towards 880, correct? At what point does it doesn't really change 3 lanes until after Costco. And then you have to go under the bridge, I believe. Because there's like one lane becomes a left turn lane, like you have to go up and over, and the other are just 2 lanes, and then they widen again. Okay, so I think it's very important to recognize that right now, the traffic patterns that we see today are awful. And Costco has a major desire. People want to go there. I understand that. But the left turn lane, the number of times I've gone there where people are already almost trying to nail each other in the behind, and you have all these, unfortunately, when it's very busy, I think people aren't watching what they're doing, and I would feel bad if we don't do something about it. So in these plans that you're talking about, is that being taken into account?
Yes. So as we move forward with the preferred plan that we have a transportation consultant on board, and they will run models to analyze the traffic patterns that are going to come both from the regional perspective as well as the increased residential capacity within the neighborhood. So they will model where the stresses are and how we can mitigate them as well. So the next time we come to you, we will have all of that in.
Definitely need to mitigate it. Now, the other thing that I have is, are you familiar with San Carlos Airport? It's a small residential, not residential, it's a small commuter airport, a lot of private planes and stuff like that. I used to work at one of the buildings up there. There are 4 stories, and there was 3 sets of buildings. And 2 buildings were not too far apart. But one of my favorite things to see was when they were doing training of new pilots, and even old pilots, what happens is the wind will go right through a 4-story building, not through the building, but through the opening in the sides. And as the pilot's flying, what you're supposed to do is tilt towards that so that it doesn't throw you over. The number of times I've seen people literally go over, well, to me, in one sense, it was funny, but in the other sense, I felt bad because it's a serious thing. So in doing this, is there going to be a study if you're going to build buildings that are 13 stories high to look at the winds? Because obviously, in the afternoons in Santa Clara, we have some major winds. And if they start whistling through those buildings and being fortified to hit the airport, I would be concerned about that. So is that something that has been thought of?
We haven't considered that, but we can look into it in further detail.
I would please recommend that. The other side of the coin is when you talk to different members, and you have these open houses and such, what outreach has been to pilots who are actually using the airport for commuter or private pilots, and then involving the pilots, not to the FAA, but pilots that actually use that airport all the time? Has there been any outreach to them and getting their side of how this might affect their safety?
No, I don't think that is something that we've considered as of now.
Got one right here.
Okay.
Yeah, we already got your opinion in. So I would suggest that be done as well, because I think it'd be, 13 stories is huge. And I think it would be very helpful to make sure you get their input before you start building there, or that we say, this is what we're going to allow to be built there. They may have some good input beyond what we're thinking of today. I'm going to hold off on my other questions about this for later. So right now, is there any members of the public? Should we go to public comment?
We do not have any hands raised online, and there is nobody in the council chambers asking to speak.
I just want to make sure nobody wants to speak in addition to what you've already said? Okay, then I'm going to go on with some of my questions, if I may. One of the things that I learned at APA, at a conference we just had in Monterey, was Culver City was saying, hey, listen, when we do mixed use with retail, that in a lot of cases they felt they just didn't have enough retail. And if you were there, Leslie, I'd love to have your input as well. So they said, look, what we're going to do is, if it doesn't make sense to have all that retail, one of the things that we will do is we do need more residential. So has any of that been considered? And by the way, staff, is it possible to even do that when you say I have mixed use, that I could use that first floor and say, all right, I'm really going to mix up. It isn't just all dedicated to retail. We can do it. Okay, great.
Yes.
So is that something that's been thought of as well?
Yes, so let me come back to this map that we had. Other than these frontages that we have defined in red here, everywhere else they would be able to do what you just mentioned.
Awesome.
Where they would be able to build residential on the ground floor, and there would be no restrictions around it. It's only, we have certain select corridors where we want to encourage activation, where we want to encourage retail to come about, and we want to have a certain experience for the community members. Those are the only ones that we have categorized as retail required frontages.
Great.
And we have an economist also on our team who has looked through that and helped us understand which are the key corridors that we should focus on so that we don't have a blanket requirement that forces a lot of buildings to have retail where it's not really feasible for the market.
Excellent. That hits most of my questions. Since MTC ABAG is represented here, I want to make sure that when we look at high density, like we are looking at over there towards the airport side, servicing that many people on the few roads that are around there are a major concern. I would hope that ABAG would be very good about saying you don't necessarily have to have that high density over there. That's all. I would appreciate that.
Can
I do. So,
All right.
Jericho?
Okay,
One thing.
ready for a white
Hold on.
paper from
Retail.
here? Okay, so by the way, congratulations. I'm an urban planner. This is my passion. This is your dream. What you just did is probably your dream and your passion that you put out there. So I appreciate the partnership, the collaboration, the vision building, absolutely phenomenal. That said, as an urban planner and a designer who's traveled around the world, and he just mentioned Paris and Europe, I didn't find the design inspirational yet. It's still a block. As an architect, as an urban designer, if you really think Santa Clara has got to be someday a world destination, that doesn't cut it. So try to, in even so much as Dublin and San Ramon has elements of, this is our space, we've built new, you have archways or you have roadways that indicate a central point or like a gathering space. This doesn't lead us to this transit station yet. So one, you've tried a grid pattern of street here, but it doesn't inspire like Barcelona does. And I just came off from Barcelona, so I have it hot on my blood yet. I don't see it inspiring people coming together. The plaza in front of the transit station is too wide. When people gather, they tend to gather in cozier, smaller coves. When it's too wide and it's too trafficky, all you're doing is only encouraging more cars. It doesn't bring that same level of coziness where people feel comfortable to hang out, eat pizzas, croissants, coffees. I didn't see that come through yet. So try a little more inspirational level of street ways. You can try angles and still get architectural elements. Put your signature. You're a well-renowned firm. This is Santa Clara City. We don't want this to be another suburban. We have not yet imbibed the true principles of what becomes a world-class destination. If that's your words, it didn't say that through your design. You just used words. If you see that envisioned and 3D built, they are just mass buildings that don't have a statement at all. So think a little more visionary, bring more architectural, urban design principles, even in front of the transit piazza, do little architectural steps that bring people together. Don't just make it flat. Think different. People tend to convene around steps. People tend to convene around water. People tend to convene around a certain vibe. That's what Europe is all about. Whether you have it as squares or piazzas or water elements, none of it is here in this year's Jewel. So I'm just stating it out as an urban design principal planner. And retail. Retail is a very different concept when it comes to Europe. It's not that Amazon doesn't exist there, but they've just put food as the draw. You walk in, there's just cafes and pizza and people just sitting and chatting away, and I know he can relate. That's what brings communities together. So you don't have to envision a Gucci or even a Tesla showroom like Santana Row. You just need to have enough to draw people into those spaces. Also, when you do retail, try to give them those coves that give them away from traffic such that the kids can hang out there. So that's why I was asking your street. How wide is Coleman going to be? How wide is Brokaw going to be? How wide is, and draw your people in through those plazas. So you have green parks, know that we are drought prone.
Just a color.
I know, but I'm just saying, you want to have that natural mix of, even if it turns brown someday, it can still bring people. It doesn't have to be necessarily a park, it can still function as a plaza.
Well, even if you had it as a park, I mean, one of the things, I'll give you Austin, Texas, and something that we see all over here now are these just empty spaces, and at night or whatever, all the food trucks come by.
Yeah.
And everybody loves to go there, right? So things that would, allow for something like that.
Yeah.
Because retail to me is kind of it's in flux.
Yes.
And, we don't need the same sandwich shops over and over, but if we can get local people who want to
Our cuisines.
Yeah.
Let me finish. So the other is tree-lined avenues. We love our trees. We would love to have more tree-lined avenues. If you have that many residences, by the way, I agree, 13 stories, it looks like a full-on tunnel. And then take your weather patterns into consideration when you orient your streets. You have a moment in your career to make a history with the city. Someday, by the way, if you look at the aerial, Santa Clara universities have much more absorbing architectural view from a bird's eye view. You want to generate that with this. You're showing me an aerial. Not all of us are at the aerial scale, but if you do, that's your moment. Why is Stanford University so, inviting because of Olmsted's Palm Drive? None of that I see as a true architect, as a true urban designer come through here. You didn't talk about those principles. What are those principles? What is the grid concept? You should be able to influence a moment here. VTA and MTA do partner. Ideally, yes, we would love to have those pedestrian pathways and simple connections through public transit. Come on, we are in the hub of Silicon Valley. We can compete with Europe easily, guys. So generate the connection through your VTA, MTC. Funding is going to be a challenge, but let's at least envision it. Money can come later. It doesn't take money to dream big. So do come up with more aesthetically viable principles and create a signature of your own. You want to be known in history. Okay, thank you.
I have a,
Wait a minute.
how about the data centers?
I want,
Data says Commissioner Biagini.
I want to
please.
absolutely second what Commissioner Terakuru said. I've been to Barcelona as well. One thing, check out Bilbao, Spain for how you merge modern, historic, and beautiful walkways.
I get
Anybody else?
yes.
Yes, go.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to drop it down a notch on its scope. One of the things that I have noticed about the designs and the street profiles is the emphasis on bikes, which is great. But since we are talking about designing out for the future, it's really important that we don't take a snapshot of today as what it's going to be in 10 years and 20 years. You've got to extrapolate on the trends. And one of the things I saw completely omitted was support for things like driverless taxis, driverless Waymos, basically, Lyfts, Ubers. This is going to be a big part of the destination transportation link. That is, they'll use the bike to the train to the destination or to the terminal, but where do they go from there? They're not going to rent a bike. They need to go some other destination. Make sure that the road architecture supports the idea of knockouts, cutouts, safe pickup spaces so that they can move from a train environment to auto without creating traffic issues. I see right away on Coleman, you've dropped from 3 lanes to 2. There would be no safe place to pick someone up on a 2-lane road. You need to have that knockout. And I didn't see it anywhere in the descriptions or the profiles.
Lance?
Yes.
50 years from now, we're going to have the flying taxis. They already have them. So they would just fly in.
I'm not looking
and
50,
drop
I'm
you
just
off.
looking
So
20.
Just wait. Just wait.
Okay.
All right.
Just wanted to respond to your comments, so very quickly. So we did consider that specific use case, and Brokaw, which is our primary street just outside the BART station, and on the other side, in the station plaza itself, on the station plaza, we've designated a zone which is TNC, but that's very flexible because that will, based on like how the station plaza itself develops in the future, that might move. But on Brokaw, that's where the idea of the flex zones has come up, to be able to have those pull-off areas in the future near the train station for when people need to get on and off.
Right, not crossing over bike lanes, because that is probably the single most dangerous thing.
Yes, no, the bike lanes buffered on the other side, yes.
And also, just to clarify, if you turn back to Coleman, that the, one thing we didn't mention is that the 13-foot buffer zones on either side have right turn lane carve-outs, and they can also have carve-outs for other kinds of things. So, you know, even though we're reducing from 3 lanes to 2, there are additional turn lanes that are built into this design. But where the turn lane doesn't exist, it can be part of this greenway, you know, with plenty of planting area and stormwater management and those kind of things. So it's really aiming to be, you know, an integrated green boulevard rather than a, you know, a traffic conveyor.
Well, let me ask you that then. When you look at that area today, and even in the future, if I live somewhere on one of the properties that we're talking about, where am I working?
Well, it's a good question. You may be working near a transit station in another city, right? So you might walk to this station, have a short ride to, you know, Diridon or Berryessa, and then have a short walk to your office.
What's your estimate for how many people living there would be in that situation? Because I'm going to be very honest, I see it as partially, but a smaller percentage than a larger percentage. I think that area right there, because it's so just residential, I mean, if you work at Roku right there, you can walk to work, fantastic. But I think a lot of people are going to literally have to commute in some way, shape, or form, and if the bus takes them to where they need, fantastic. If I have to go to Oakland, man, I am so happy because now I have BART, right? But my concern is that the majority of people will wind up saying, okay, I still have to go to Scott Boulevard and Montague, and I'm going to have to drive. So when we talk about turning it down to only 2 lanes, today we couldn't sustain that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We would have a major problem. So I don't see it as such that bicycle paths and such there are the answer to it. Because most people on average go 30 minutes to drive to work. And so I think we have to be careful that this is kind of a carve out. It's kind of like, okay, if you have your Barcelona or your big town, this is not in the main area of it, downtown. This is kind of a carve out that to me was industrial. It's next to the airport and such. And it's big transit, right? Because Coleman goes all the way to downtown San Jose. People are getting off from 880 and stuff like that. Cutting it down to 2 lanes, I think, is going to be a major problem. And I don't see that bike lanes and such are going to really help the people that live in that area per se, because they're having to go quite a distance to get anywhere.
So it's a great perspective. And I think one of the challenges of a study like this, where you're looking 20, 30 years out in the future, is trying to imagine what is this neighborhood going to be in 30 years? Because I think we all have a tendency to define it as it is today. Well, today it's a great way to cut from 101 over to 380, and that's what a lot of people are doing. And that's how this road system was designed. It was designed expressly for that purpose, because of the land uses that were planned at that time. It's an industrial zone, and it, you know, it has functioned that way for the last several decades. Now we're fast forwarding to the future, and we're actually trying to transform this neighborhood into the place. Like when you were saying, this isn't like Barcelona, because this isn't the place. This is sort of an industrial area near the airport. Well, what we're suggesting is it's not the industrial zone next to the airport anymore. It's actually the neighborhood where you live and where your cultural draws are and where your parks are, where your kids are playing, and where you walk to the station to go to work or you bike to the station. Now, your point about, yes, you're going to peel off some of those other modes, but there's still going to be a lot of people driving. And that is the million-dollar question right there, is how much mode shift can we achieve? And if you ask some folks that are all about transit ridership and encouraging mode shift, that the degree to which you can shift modes is quite high. When you ask others, it's like, no, we're Americans. We love our cars. We're always going to want to drive from point A to point B. Then the mode shift is less. And there's a real debate going on right now in planning in America, and that's happening right here in Silicon Valley, in terms of how much do we push that agenda for mode shift, but also how realistic are we being, right? Because we do want to be realistic. We want to be grounded in things that are not just pie in the sky. It's like everybody's going to ride their bike. Everyone's going to ride transit. No, not everybody is. But a significant shift can happen. And I think that's part of creating a vision for this neighborhood. So I think when you go back to the basic principles of what, you know, that vision statement that I read in the very beginning, it's walkable, you know, it's vibrant, it's got green space, it's got destinations. It's your neighborhood, okay? It's where you're gonna live and play, and your kids are gonna go to school, and you may not work in that neighborhood, but you might, but you should at least have the ability to take transit, you know, to work. And then some people are gonna drive, and that is, you know, definitely true. So there's a real tension in terms of how far do we push it in terms of creating this vision versus how much, you know, do we sort of retain some of the patterns that you know.
I think reach for the sky, but have your feet on the ground. And I agree with what you're saying in principle. I think the key is going to be the practicality of it. We don't know where we're going to be in 40 years per se, but I can pretty much guess we're still going to have cars. And they're not going to be flying cars, sorry. But Coleman cuts that off. You're putting in an area that you're saying is almost like its own little town. And that's the you know, here we go, that's the bridge and the thing that when we're talking about what we think can be helped in there, like what you were talking about, that's where I think you have an opportunity to do this. And I think if we go over, you know, I'm going to volunteer you, since she's fantastic, to work with you, since you're getting paid so well here.
Yeah.
That it can be done, but the vision that you're showing us, I think, is a good preliminary one. You did a great presentation. There's more we want out of it because we're seeing that there's some really hard issues there. Yeah. Coleman being one of them.
Correct.
And I know that's why you're asking us for our opinion.
This is excellent feedback, so I really appreciate it.
Let me make a quick point here, just one quick thing. One of the things that you mentioned that you were talking about, you want to make a community there, you know. Are you aware that most of the communities that are close to airports are like really run down, low income, because nobody wants to move there? And you have this panacea of building houses next to a jet center airport and having a community in there. What are you thinking of? I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
Well,
that really doesn't make
Chair.
any sense.
This is
Hold on.
That's why there was industrial there.
Hold on.
Yeah, this is a general plan vision through our city council.
I know it is, so you have
Let
to
me-
actually take everything into consideration. I appreciate you making that point, but you have to take everything in consideration. If you're gonna look at it and put all this effort into it, you gotta see all the reality is gonna be in there. And if you look at building a community next to an airport right now, doesn't make any sense. That used to be industrial, used to have FMC, and that's one of the reasons, because nobody wants to live next to an airport.
Let me, because it's come up a couple times, let me address this one quickly. Commissioner Bosa, it's a very legitimate concern. So, and Deeksha sort of touched on this quickly, but I wanted to just reiterate where we drew the line as to where it's okay to have housing versus where it's not okay to have housing. So we looked very carefully at the noise contours from the airport, and those are mapped out. And they're the number of decibels that are audible at different distances back, from the airport. And keep in mind that there is already one row of hangars in the airport property itself that is, in a sense, a buffer. And then we're retaining an industrial zone north of the housing, so between the airport boundary and our first line of housing, we're actually retaining the current industrial use for a certain distance, because we think that that additional buffering is needed in order for housing to be viable. And that industrial area would be able to densify, but only to a certain amount. We're saying that maybe it can go to something like 4-story. So the intent is that those uses can successfully cohabitate with the airport noise, because they're, just because of the nature of the use, because they can modify the buildings so that those are, are compatible. And then on the other side of that is where the residential would begin. And even that first line of residential, they would still certainly want to have, certain building code provisions, double glazing and things like that to further improve. But putting them on that contour that is, from sort of planning guidelines, that level of noise is compatible with residential. That's
You mentioned two things real quick. I just want to waste any more time on this. That you said they're buildings, yeah, but are you aware that the buildings can stop some of the noise if you're just sitting there in an idle position, but the jets, when they're taking off, they're full thrust, and there's no buildings around them to stop that noise. And when they're going up, they are full thrust also. So that's where all the noise comes from, and all the fumes and the toxins comes from. And the same thing when they're landing, you're doing the reversing the engine, reversing the turbines, and that's when most of your noise comes off, and that's also where you get a lot of more of your fumes and stuff. I've been to one of the projects that we just approved. I stood in that project and I could smell the jet fumes in that project, right in the parking lot where that project's going to be built. You could smell it.
Yeah.
So that is something that is not that pleasant.
Yeah. Same in Millbrae. You smell the jet fumes in downtown. And
you're further away, because you're completely further away. My daughter lives like maybe 1.5 miles from the airport. And you can hear the noise, and this is going up the hill on Millbrae. But Millbrae, you don't have any houses next to San Francisco Airport. You got a couple hotels. You have hotels, but no houses.
All right.
Okay.
We're killing this so far, so.
No, it's.
First of all, first of all, who wants to speak further? Because I want to make sure I do this in order. Okay, so Lance, Botnagard, and Priya, and then the staff, the director, did you want to?
It's contextual.
Say anything more? Just a yes or no, because if you do, I want to make sure that I give everybody the right time and not just cut people off and stuff.
I can close it out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lance?
Okay, so I'll do my darndest to be a lot less verbose. The thing I'm most concerned about is the economic flow, the perception that people are commuting from Santa Clara to somewhere else to work doesn't seem practical, because you don't commute from the most expensive place to live to somewhere less expensive and then back again. It's the other way. People are going to be commuting from more economical housing, cheaper lifestyle into the Santa Clara area to work at the larger companies and actually take advantage of the density that Santa Clara is providing. So for us to provide so much additional housing seems reverse of what the economic flow is within this valley. I know we won't be the most expensive place forever, but that's kind of where we are right now. It doesn't feel like it's a natural flow. So to focus heavily on housing might be a disservice to the future. That's all. Thank you.
Just to respond to that, though, I think that is a major consideration of ours, and that is something that we discussed with our economic consultant as well, which is why you see a lot of the 2 million square feet of commercial. But I do want to reiterate, none of these colors are absolute. Everything is mixed use. So if an office wants to get built in one of these yellow buildings, that is okay by the plan. It is not saying that this is only residential and this has to be residential. We're just showing you a scenario of what that potential built out could be. But all of this area, other than the light industrial innovation zone at the buffer edge, is mixed use and can choose to be commercial, residential, any of those possibilities.
Data centers, right?
No. No.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So one of my favorite quotes, Yogi Berra, it's really hard to make predictions, especially about the future. The thing that you have in front of you, so first of all, nobody here has objected to the vision that you presented, and congratulations, right? What a vision. So now you're trying to build your blueprint to translate that vision into some reality, right? And there's many complications in there. I find that the city's intentions, the VTA's collaboration with teams like yours and the back there, your heart's in the right place. And me, I would say, may the force be with you. Go make it happen. Thank you.
I'll just add that one of your big, and I understand the airport, and then there's limitations, and then there's visioning. This is a university town. So your primary audiences are going to be from an international front or from a regional draw. So you're going to have more of those university hubs. So dream like it is a university town. It is the young and the lively and the bright and the beautiful coming together with the community all together. So your pedestrian, your bike will be someday a vision because the university is right there. So dream big.
And I want to add that we, at our workshops, have had university students come and share their vision of what's important to them as well in terms of access, flow, activation, etc.
Yeah, my son went to Santa Clara University. I don't think I want to mention what his priorities would have been. Thank you. So, but I want to say one more time, on behalf of all of us, it was an excellent presentation. A lot of detail there, very well done. It's a work in progress, and I hope that we gave you good feedback that will help you find this vision, because it's desperately needed. And with that, I will give it to the director for the last word.
Do we need to make a motion to close the public debate that wasn't there?
All right,
Nobody was here.
Tell me if it's the time, Chair, and I'll say it.
go for it.
Motion to close public debate?
Second to you. Okay. First.
If I may, through the chair, this is a study session. I know Santa Clara does the closing a public hearing action, so I'm not familiar with that. Is that typical practice here to?
You don't have to do closing of the public hearing, but we do take public comment, which you have already done.
Okay.
So you don't need to take any action on the study session item.
So will you pull your motion there, Nancy? Withdraw your motion?
Sure.
Well, you're paying attention, I can't believe it.
I'm trying to figure out how I just lost connection on this.
I don't know, but yes, we have to make you earn your pay. Thank you very much for that. Back to the director. I will let you close it out.
My closing statement's going to be very simple. Really appreciate the Planning Commission's comments and feedback, and we will capture these comments and then go back and also keep continuing to work with the City Council, and then at some point, we will come back as well once we have more input. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing the report.
And I also want to,
Thing,
Wait a minute.
you know, if we build something like this in the future, 30 years from now, so you're young enough that you probably still be able to do it, build it, and see it. And then you can remember, go back and remember to this bunch of old people sitting here telling you how it's not going to work, and especially telling us to be in Barcelona.
Out of your
But thank
order.
you so much.
Out of order.
I'm taking
All right.
Yeah, I'm hitting the head with this.
Yeah, okay. All right, so do I have a motion to end the meeting?
No, we have other order
Oh, we have order of business? We got to do more? I was trying to get out of here. All right, be that way.
Thank you.
I tried.
That was good.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, so what's the next item we have here? Reports of commission, board, liaison, and committee. Is that Elizabeth?
I don't have anything, Leslie, do you? Announcements, other items?
No.
Okay, then let's go on. Commissioner travel and training reports, request to attend trainings. Since we had APA and several people here have been to it. I did go, it was the first conference and such that I've went to for planning, which was great. A few things that I wanted to note. I am writing up my notes and such, and will submit them to staff so that they can share them with everybody, but just some of the notes I've seen. And please, for those who were there, if you have any comments about what I just said, if I made something wrong, let me know. The city manager from the city of Emeryville, LaTanya Bello, made a comment that just really was interesting to me. And she said, one of the things that she does is she goes to the senior centers to update residents, to get their feedback, because there'll be people there that says, I've lived in this city for 60 years, and oh yeah, there was this over here or that over there. I thought that was a very excellent outreach, and I hope that our city manager and or any of the staff that are here would consider doing that at times. We obviously have a very nice senior center, and I think we get some excellent feedback from them. I mentioned one thing before during this last presentation about the mixed use and not committing the first floor to just retail. That's something that I picked up from the city of Culver City. They made a really nice presentation. Their beginning gag reel that they had, I think, was probably something I could have passed on, but I appreciated the fact that they do a lot of movies there. They were also doing additional bonuses on top of state bonuses, and how they're concerned about the large fiscal impact of loss of retail taxes by doing that. I just wanted to bring that up because I thought that that was a very interesting observation. For me, one of the big things about going here was being able to meet a lot of the planners and such and talk with them personally rather than just going to the different speaking engagements. And one of the things that I found was there was a large concern that Sacramento is regulating us out of any ability to do any kind of planning or action. And I think that's something that the city should take to heart and maybe review that with staff and maybe even some of the other cities locally and see, if we can give some feedback to state about what we really need. The key thing is one size does not fit all. And that's what I feel like is happening. And I saw a lot of people that said the same thing. There was one interesting comment. I wish Xander was here because I always love bringing up AB 2097 about parking spaces. And I feel bad that he's not here, but I'll bring it up later. One of the planners said, well, we don't worry so much about that because we think that developers do a good job of figuring out what parking they need because otherwise people won't live at their place. And I'm sitting here thinking like, that's fox guarding the hen house, but okay. It was an interesting comment. There was a legal review. 2,400 bills were brought in the state, of which 300 related to planning. A lot of build by right, childcare by right, a lot of ministerial ADU approvals. That's AB 956. I will say after listening to part 1 and part 2 of that legal review, I really appreciate our legal team and the summaries that they give us. It was a good thing to attend, but it was hard to keep my eyes open. So God bless you, whatever you guys do in legal, you do a fantastic job. And so I will stick to our summaries instead. But yeah, there was a lot of interesting things that I learned there, and I will definitely summarize them up in my notes. And I do believe the director was talking about she had some notes that she might share with the rest of us as well. Did I put you on the spot?
Well, I was the co-chair this year for the APA
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Yes, she was the co-chair. One of the, my apologies. I wanted to thank you. You did it. It was an excellent, excellent conference.
Thank
Very
you.
well organized.
Thank you. I think as being a co-chair was hard to attend all the sessions. So I really appreciated that you came. I saw a lot of planners, and I think that was amazing from our planning team. I think it's really important, especially now that we're navigating all these state laws, is how do we create better communities? And I think that's ultimately the question is how do we get Santa Clara to be that pedestrian-oriented, rich, engaging city that encourages housing, jobs, diversity, croissants, sitting in, cafes. And I think that's ultimately what we want, right? Even with all the state laws.
Agreed. So thank you very much for letting me go. I appreciate that. And then also, Elizabeth, I need to give you some expense reports and stuff.
Yeah, we
I'll
can
talk to you about that.
offline.
Yeah, let's talk that offline, yeah. All right, so that's my thing. Leslie, I know you were there as well. Did you want to make any comments, or?
I don't know, I can't think right now.
Yeah, I know, it's late.
Actually, I did a really good job of speaking, and I'm still tired from last night. No, I enjoyed the conference as well. You made some, I really resonated with a lot of folks talking about the loss of local control and how we can help our communities still stay as communities and get the good placemaking things that we all really love when folks are allowed to just convert industrial property into housing all by itself. So yeah, really difficult. A lot of conversations around that, but I enjoyed seeing all the planners and talking to folks from different cities. And I went to the first part of the legislative session. I did not go to the second part.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that left.
Yeah. I did attend, the state is redoing the guidelines for general plans. So for when we update our general plans or write a general plan, the state has guidelines for us that we follow, and they are updating those. So I did attend the workshop. There was a 2-part workshop on that, providing input on those updates, which was interesting. But yeah, enjoyed the conference as well. They did a good job.
I got a question, since you folks get to go there. Some of the things that you mentioned, we covered that when we went to Santa Rosa, but was there any of the state legislator or anybody from the state senate or anything
Yes.
at those meetings?
Yes.
Did you do a question and answer, especially Scott Wiener? Was he there? Because I would have loved to have been to that. I would have really tore that guy apart.
Yeah, Buffy Wicks was there, actually, and it was a very interesting story. I didn't know about her background. I don't know if you attended, but she talked about how she basically grew up in a trailer home and how she was, that was her environment, and she didn't even want to bring friends over to her trailer home. And so her growing up experience was, how do I create better homes and homes that are more affordable for many families? And so one of the things that she talked about is that while the state is requiring us to do more housing, the next phase is really that she's going to be looking at is how do you engage the industry overall. So looking at prefabricated housing or housing that is like Vallejo Factory OS, where you have modular units, and how do you make housing go faster and more affordable? So there's a lot of different
I would
perspectives
have
on
loved
this.
to have talked and discussed things with her. I would have just loved.
Should come to the APA conference.
I was away on vacation. Otherwise, I would have loved to have been there. You know how much I love those things.
Sounds good. All right. Anybody else? No? Yes? Okay. Elizabeth, then let's go on to the rest of the training. Is there any more training that's coming up or things we need to discuss about that?
No.
Okay. All right. Director of Community Development reports, Planning Commission budget update.
Your budget, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Training. I just got a blitz today on
Mike,
things I've been signed
Mike,
What?
Mike, turn your mic on.
I just got a blitz in email today about all these different trainings I've been signed up for.
From us?
Yes.
Oh, you're talking about the safety trainings, the AI training that the city is sending out?
All the things, there's one thing.
3 things.
3. Oh.
There's 3?
I only saw
I
one
thought there was only one, just
I received
just the
Separate emails
cybersecurity.
on training issues.
AI, and I forget what the other one was, the security one.
Cybersecurity one?
Cybersecurity, AI awareness, and one other thing. So another more, cyber thing related. So what's the idea on that? Is that actually something all commissioners need to deal with?
Well, you are the only commissioners that have city email addresses, which puts you in a little bit of a different situation. And yes, you did have to do the previous training.
Yeah, we did this last year.
The safety, security training, you did have to do that.
awareness, yeah.
So there is an obligation when you have a city email address and you are the only commissioners with that. I will double check with IT and I'll get back. Can the rest of you check your emails also? I'm assuming everybody got this thing.
Yeah, I saw
And
the
Lance,
one.
maybe you can send me an email and tell me
Sure,
what
I'll
the
do
3
that,
are. I'm
because
only
it was
aware of
like
2.
It's a whole blitz, and I was like, AI training, I could
You
teach
very well
that.
may be required to do it.
I think it should just be the cybersecurity training, but yeah, send Elizabeth what you got, because the other ones aren't familiar to me.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I was wondering if I was the only one, but apparently I am.
No, you're not.
No, I got it today. I saw it. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
We just don't make a big deal out of it.
All right.
I didn't send it out. It came from IT.
Budget update?
Yeah. Your budget is at approximately a balance of approximately 16,000. And it is the time, we've talked about trainings. I have provided to you a annual list of trainings that come up. You're also welcome to go to other trainings. And so now's a good time to look at that budget and look at what could serve the commission best. You can have speakers come in, as you know. You've had that opportunity also.
Great, thank you. And staff, if you have any recommendations of speakers to come or something like that, please let us know. Any upcoming agenda items?
So your next meeting is November 12th. We have tentatively planned for you a study session on objective design standards, and that would be our first phase of implementing objective design standards for the city. And then also, we have a general plan amendment for our open space element, which is a response to a state law that we need to implement for some changes. So that'll be your next agenda thus far.
So be it. City council actions?
All right, so since your last meeting, the council met twice. They met on the 23rd of September. They approved a tentative map for 1530, 1540 Pomeroy for 11 townhome condo units, which the Planning Commission also recommended approval of. They also approved 1400 Coleman Avenue, which is the general plan amendment, rezone, and tentative map for the 142 townhomes, which is in the station area we were just discussing. Planning Commission recommended approval of that, and council approved that as well. And then just last evening, on October 7th, the City Council heard the appeal of the CUP, the Planning Commission's denial of the CUP for the Subaru dealership, and that was to modify the condition for the trash pickup. The council was not able to, all of their motions failed, and so for lack of a motion, the Planning Commission appeal stands, or denial stands. So yeah. And then lastly, they had the billboard relocation agreement, and that was for 1700 Duane Avenue, the billboard on 101. They approved that as well.
All right, that's
And those are all the city council actions.
great. Move
Before
to
we
adjourn.
move on,
Second.
before we move on,
I do have one more. I do have one more note for.
Oh, go ahead.
thank you.
Thank you for doing that.
So as you all know, the Planning Commission does have a work plan, which we all put together. We're not able to present that to City Council as we have been in the past few years. But the City Manager's Office and the Clerk's Office is changing the way that they do the work plans, and what used to be the dinners, they're now just going to do one dinner in the summer. The annual boards and commissions work plans is tentatively on the council agenda for October 21st. It is a consent item, but if you're interested in speaking on it, you're welcome to come to the council meeting and ask for it to be pulled off consent. But it will be all the boards and commissions as one item going to council for approval of their work plans.
So when we show up to city council, we're representing the planning commission or as an individual?
Yourself. Unless the planning commission wants
This
to
feels like it's a
vote to
very
have someone go and
pointless
speak as
effort.
the planning commission, the chair can do that.
I'm concerned that, we've had this conversation, I've also had conversations with other council members. The decision to remove the dinners of communication and conveying of these priorities
Yeah.
Was not something that they were consulted on, contacted about. It was mandated, and I think there's some concern that that decision was arbitrary and without having been agreed to.
Through the chair, if I may, I just want to make a friendly reminder to avoid running afoul of the Brown Act, that this item is agendized as an update and report on council actions, and there is no discussion on it.
Oh, basically, we could object to it but not talk about it.
It's just an update from your
Then let's
planning
find a
manager.
way to bring it into conversation.
We can bring it on the agenda for next meeting.
All right,
I
sounds good.
can, yeah, if you'd like.
Let's do that, if it's okay with the chair.
I will formally ask if you can put it on an agenda item, please.
Absolutely.
Okay,
All right, so by acclamation, adjourn the meeting?
okay, very good, thank you.